Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Human Design Geeks podcast, a podcast on everything life through the lens of the human design system. We get together every week, putting our hearts and minds together in the service of the collective awakening. Joined in our passion for this beautiful and profound knowledge, our intention is to educate, bring awareness, and trigger meaningful change in anyone sincerely looking for it. We do our best to make this knowledge digestible and relatable. If this resonates with you, please hit the subscribe button to make sure that you don't miss any of our fruitful conversations. Also, we'd love to hear back from you. So please leave your comments, questions, and anything else you are inspired to share with us in the comment section below. Thank you for joining us. Let's dive into it. So last week, we've started the topic of the inner authority. Inner authority plus strategy is the decision-making mechanism that has been given us by the human design system so we could make decisions in life that are correct, specifically and uniquely for us. We've touched on emotional and sacral authority last week, and today we are continuing with all of the rest of authorities. And so I welcome my brothers from another fathers, Julian and William, to
Uh,
start the conversation. Let's go. Let's get it, guys.
let's explore. Let's explore. All right,
Let's
great introduction again, Marta. Always, as always,
Thank
looking
you.
sharp. With looking sharp. And yeah, so we last time we talked about the emotional center and the sacral center as an authority, and maybe it's just very fast to not about these two, but like to say what authority means. And the inner authority means actually you have inside your body an inner way of making decisions, and for everybody that is a different way. Although there are 50% emotional people, so they have a 50% of the human beings are choice making in emotions. There's no truth in the now. They need to take time for their decisions. And then we have the sacrals, who are us, Martha, like the fast in the moment, yes or no, the yes or no inner authority there with the response of the sacral. Do we have energy for it to do it or not? Actually, very easy. We could also did it like this, and then everybody knew already how it works. Then we're done. And then we're now at the spleen, right? So yeah, to be honest, you guys have a spleen defined. You guys in your human design have a closed spleen, which means you have 24/7 access of some kind of intuition to be safe or not. And I have an open spleen, which means that I have not a consistent way of knowing how to be safe. And I can just be very reckless and jump off buildings, or I just can be very scared and think I'm going to die every minute of my life because I don't have any clue how it is to be consistent as a spleen. But what does it mean to have a spleen as a decision making? And we don't have it all. So we don't have that as a decision making, but I think it's good maybe Juju to elaborate because you have a working spleen, so probably you know at least how it is to have that intuition, and maybe we can talk a little bit about the spleen, like what the spleen means, um, and yeah, and then from there on to explain how that is to have that as an authority.
Yeah, the spleen. What is the spleen?
Yeah, tell us. Tell me. I want to know.
Tell me, tell you. Okay, Willie. The spleen is like, well, physically, it's just below your rib cage on the left. It's where you sort of absorb energetically all the information that you cannot see, the sort of like danger vibrations. The spleen protects your immune system. The immune system is all about the spleen. And in human design, the spleen is like the survival instinct. It's your primal instinct. It's supposed to be the oldest center that we have, the one that when we were hunting back in the days in the Netherlands, we wanted to go left or right, and then we could feel like, oh my God, we're gonna go right. We don't know why, because it's like, but left there was like a predator with a gouda cheese or something, and
How
ready
that
to.
cheese. That's funny. I love that.
And on the right, we were safe, but we don't know. So the spleen is like this sort of interesting center, which sends you like defense mechanism. And I have a very good example of how the danger of not listening to the spleen.
Oh, tell us.
So I had in 2011 this accident, kite surfing accident, and I remember I was sitting on the beach and I was like, low voice telling me maybe it's dangerous to go dive into, to do this. I was on my third lesson of kite surfing. And then my mind was like, oh, conquer your fear, It's like I thought I was invincible, I could fly, but then half hour later, I had not listened to the spleen gentle message. The spleen is like never with a big voice, It's just like, oh, maybe there's too much wind for a kite surfing lesson. And then I was like, no, I'm invincible with a little bit of fear, inside. And half hour later, gust of wind, too much wind, crashed on the beach, stopped breathing, had to be reanimated, and nearly died. So the moral of the story is listen to your spleen because it will protect you.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the spleen. Should we go into our chart builder
Yes, let's see how
to
it looks.
show
That's
to
great.
sh
And I also want to know how Marta feels her spleen because I'm very curious about that. But to first, thank you, Juju, for sharing that story. I mean, wow, that's impressive. I don't hope that everybody now is thinking when they don't listen to the spleen, they almost gonna die every time. But still, I mean, yeah, that was a perfect example for that small, subtle voice who is saying, I don't think you're safe here, or maybe you should not eat that, or maybe you should leave this building, or maybe like all these subtle things. And it's always spontaneous in the now. It never comes back in the same way. So that is very interesting. That's way different than the sacral, who can again always say yes or no in that situation. But for the spleen, it is spontaneous. There's something it's feeling, and it says, "This is dangerous. This is the awareness. This is the instinct. Don't do this or do this or feel safe. Yeah, I feel you safe with this. I feel safe with these people. That's a good sign, right? But it's not coming back like 10 times saying it to you. So how do you see that, Marta? Like for your spleen, do you recognize that?
Yeah, exactly what you said, Willie. When Juju was sharing, I was thinking it's the quiet voice that doesn't repeat itself.
Uh-huh. You
It
you how do you describe that? How that works for you?
it's um it's just a knowing. It's just a knowing, but it's so interesting because the mind is so fast to jump
Oh my
into
God, yeah.
stories why you should do this or why you shouldn't do that. And how many times for somebody who has a splenic authority or for somebody who has a defined spleen, how many times in your life did you tell yourself, no, I knew it. Why didn't I do it?
Yep.
Or, no, why did I do it? I knew this was a bad idea. This is exactly it.
Yep.
I knew when you have this feeling, I knew this knowing. It's a knowing. It's not a feeling. It's a knowing.
Yeah.
It's like you know something, and then your mind jumps in and starts, yeah, but come on, you're a big man with defined ego. Let's
Yeah.
do this. Let's conquer it. Or no, let's write this message. It's not gonna hurt your feelings.
You sounded a Ra now. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, no, but I think that is good to because I was listening to some stuff from Ra again last week, and that mind, that beautiful mind though, but it's such a strong, we made it so strong and powerful, right? And it's also an awareness center, and the spleen is actually our first awareness center of the being, of the human being. But it's override so much in this lifetime now because we make the mind and the mental things so strong, and so you have to think about everything. Think about it. Like make decisions in you, and that is not the place to make decisions. That's what we're learning here for the people who are watching. This is not never ever the place to make decisions, which is maybe for you like, well, but I thought it very through. Well, good for you, but it's not the place where you make the correct decisions for you. It can be a beautiful tool to spread out your thoughts, give it to other people, let it go through the universe, and maybe as an outer authority be brilliant. Like Ra, he was just like using that mental to just throw it out there in the universe. And if what people do with it, they do with it, and then something's happening from it. But it's not the place where you make your decisions. And I heard a lot of times yeah, Juju.
Actually, for splenic projectors, it is a place where they should listen to.
Yeah, 100%. My girlfriend is a spinning projector, and
Yeah.
she is struggling always with the mind and the mental thing. And interesting enough is that the spleen can say something is dangerous, and the mind makes it worse. So what is happening, instead of just doing and listening and do something with it, you're going to think about it, and especially when you're a mother and you have a child, right? So you have an instinct, and you have like, oh, this feels not safe for me and for my child. And then you go in this mental thing, I need to, and then, oh my God, if I don't leave, and blah 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 blah. And then you make yourself nuts up here, because the mental thing is going, it's amplifying your intuition, actually, instead of just listening to what it's saying and just leave the room. But we live in such a social structure. So how, I mean, how on hell, you're with your girlfriends talking in the coffee shop, and then you just have this feeling to want to leave, or a voice is saying, I need to go. And you're like, but I'm just here 15 minutes. That's not really, nice for my girlfriends who are also but actually that is something to really listen to. But yeah, that's hard in the world where we live in. And do you dare to really listen to that moment and say, okay, guys, I'm sorry, but I need to leave. Because then the mind doesn't get the chance to, oh, I'm still sitting here, and oh, something happening, and blah, blah, blah. You make yourself nuts. And that is very interesting to look out for as a splenic authority.
And one time I watched a Netflix documentary, Avicii,
Uh-huh.
and he's a splenic. And throughout the documentary, I was like, he's definitely a splenic projector. He's not listening to the voice. He's
Yep.
so lost that when he had an operation to take after many times getting sick, his spleen out. And that's when he committed suicide because his authority was taken out of his body.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Interesting,
so
huh?
it's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it's good to show Juju. Now you have an open spleen with all the centers, but if it looks with you, maybe you can close it to some, yeah, the heart center or whatever you want to close it to. So if you have this, for example, you're a splenic projector, with also your willpower closed. Even though the willpower is a lot of energy, it's a motor, still the spleen is your first authority. So if you have like a sacral or emotional, then that your authority. But if you have like this, then the sacral is, and if you have the emotions closed after, then the emotions are the first. So if you have emotions, you always have an emotional center. If you have the sacral, the red square there in the middle, it is. So now you're emotional. How you look at it, for people who are just now listening to it, we are working in this body graph and showing everybody the centers who are closed. So the right center is now brown, the emotional. If you have it like this, you have an emotional authority. Then it's true, no truth in the now. You need to make time for your decisions. You want to have clarity over your decisions. If that is open, then you have, and it's like this. So Juju, you can maybe like open it again. Then it's like a sacral. So now you have the red square. You're a generator. You're responding. It's more than me. We're sitting here. We can immediately like, aha, yes, aha, pulled towards something. You were saying this morning, like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this human design again. So your aura wants to get into this. You're listening. You're now getting into your energy. Hopefully, like up again. Like the sacral is there responding. So that's the sacral. And if the sacral is not there, and you have a spleen, so if Juju is opening up now the spleen, the sacral there, then now you are a splenic authority. So if you have it like this, you are a splenic authority. And I think as an authority, what we discussed is like the spleen is this, the place where you want to feel safe, where your body feel, it's always, I always also learned it's also coupled to your, I think it's your pineal, no, not your pineal, your glands, how it's called, your,
pituitary gland,
yeah,
endocrine.
Yeah, so it's like because when you get sick, right, it gets thicker right here. You know what I mean? So it's always protecting you when you're sick, but it's also sending out message. So it's not only the spleen, which is like connecting towards the outside, but it's also your glands everywhere. So your whole body is continuous, like feeling, do I feel safe? Can I eat this? Can I, it's with the smell. If you smell something bad, oh, something is fire over there or whatever, all the old things as, to primal instinct, intuitive, and it's spontaneous. So it is also fast, but it's just one time, as you say, Marta, it's the voice or the voice on the beach. What you just say, I don't think you need to. Don't think you have to go into the water and just stay here. It's not safe. And then you're like, no, I'm the strongest man in the earth, and um, and you still
You
are
cannot.
because you're still here.
Uh, yeah, but I've learned an important lesson. I cannot fly, and I'm not invincible.
Yep.
Oh
That's
no.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I know it's crazy.
So
But
yeah.
this is interesting because this spleen is like the Jedi center. It speaks once and then it's done. It gives you indication this is not safe. This is safe. I have spoken. Boom, it's done. So it's kind of the Jedi center. And I've took a course during COVID with one of the people, Dr. Andrea Reiki Wolf, and she's a genetics doctor, and we did a human design and the immune system, and all the immune system is linked to this.
Yep.
And maybe this is interesting to do a special episode once on the immune system because it's so compact and full of information.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
I always found it very interesting. This is my take on it, so don't say it's like the truth, but I'm an open spleen, and normally an open spleen would be way faster sick, or like because it's not knowing. But what I notice that a lot of spleen people I know get very ill and very sick. I always found it interesting because I always thought, oh, if you're splenic, you always, you're with throwing up, for example. If I feel sick, I'm fighting throwing up. I'm always fighting to throw up because my body doesn't want to do it. I don't. If my girlfriend gets sick or Bowie gets sick, they both splenic persons, immediately, like even if they start to feel, it's going out immediately. It's going out the body immediately. And for me, it's like I don't even know. I always want to fight it in a way, or it's I don't know. I don't have maybe you guys recognize this also, but um, so yeah, I don't know how it is to be a splenic person, but yeah,
I can
it's
tell you because this is very interesting. The immune system, and Marta and I can relate. When you have it defined, it's like you have a reliable immune system. So if you listen to it, you will keep healthy. Your immune system is healthy. Your health is healthy. But if you don't listen to it, then when you get sick, it takes you a long time to get back. And then if you don't take extra time to get better, then the next time you get sick, it takes even longer. And you can see it in the documentary of Avicii because he gets sick for a couple months and then he gets really sick and then it takes him 6 months and then he gets really sick and it takes him a year. And it's like you can see it and they were documenting his career at the time, not knowing what's going to happen, but it's documented not listening to your strong splenic. Because if you listen to the spleen, and Marta, maybe you can confirm, you keep healthy.
Yeah, it
So
definitely speaks to you. Just yesterday, I had a stomach ache, and it was, I think maybe I've eaten too much like greasy food. And then my stomach started like I had these spasms. And so the mind jumps in and it's like, oh, what is this? What is this?
Mhm.
Should I this? Should I that? And the spleen, like the mind was like, oh, I want coffee because I want something tasty in my mouth. And the spleen's like, not a good idea. So then I drink coffee. Of course, and then of course
Yeah.
So my stomach comes down a little bit. Then I drink coffee, and then not a good idea. I drink coffee, comes back, more intense. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't listen. And then it tells, I'm like, well, I'm kind of hungry. I didn't eat something. Not a good idea to eat something. Just maybe skip the eating altogether. And then she goes and eats some bread. And of course,
I love what you say. She goes. It's not you. It's like somebody inside.
and
Goddamn
then
stomach.
and then after I ate some bread, and like you have a confirmation after confirmation, like start listening, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm just gonna keep with the tea for the rest of the day. And then I wake up and I'm fine. I'm like, and I just know that if I don't eat something, it's gonna recover. It's
Yeah.
gonna, I don't need any pills or anything. It's gonna recover. Just leave it alone for a little while. And that's it. And I just have this knowing. Just don't eat anything.
Yeah. That's the spleen talking, huh?
Yeah.
So interesting because now if you're because we're both not like spleen, our spleen is not our authority, our sacral is our authority. I don't have the spleen either, but so for you it's also important if you are on your response correctly. So if your strategy is like if you have the really aha to have the energy for it, your spleen is also automatically working well. So for me, for example, I'm a lot on stage as an actor. I love being on stage. It is my place. I cannot handle it's just making with people, playing, make the audience happy. And I always say, playing a show is the best remedy for me. Even if I feel not fine or la la la, always, like 99% of the time, if I play a show afterwards, I'm always happy. I'm always feeling better. I'm always because I'm into something which I love to do. My sacral is invested something I like to do, so my power is going up, and that is and that's I always say like a show playing a show is the best remedy, but that's not for all the people the case. Because not everybody is enjoying being on stage so much, right? It's like if you're being an actor and you don't really like it to do it, you have it's another way of thinking. But I always see it like that. So my sacral is invested. I'm responding well. I'm like, yes, it's going well. Show is la la la. And afterwards, I'm like, I was sick before I started, I guess, but that is gone. So maybe that's also a good thing to know. Like, and especially if you're a splenic authority, then it's so important to listen to that spleen because that is your authority. And if you're not listening to it, you don't have anything else to really listen to it. And I always found it fascinating because Ra was a splenic manifester, right? And he died pretty soon though, and he was always talking about like I need to listen to da 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 da. And I listened to him last week and I was like, interesting. You're not really listening to your spleen. You're talking about it, but I was feeling that he was not truly listening to it. So that is that I found interesting. He has also his heart closed, right? Not.
Oh yeah, I think
Yeah.
like this, right?
I'm gonna because he's here somewhere, I guess. What do you want to say, Marta? Say it.
And that's just something that I've been wanting to say for an hour already.
Oh yes, do it. Do it.
With the mind, I feel like with all the authority, like it's so important to say something I learned in the class last Tuesday, is that the mind is never an authority. The mind is never an authority.
Yes.
Yeah, the mind is we are so conditioned to make decisions with the mind, where they're telling us, think about it twice, let's sleep over it, let's think some more. When that's killing sacral beings who are not supposed to think. That's killing splenic beings who are supposed to listen to the feelings and not the thinking, right? And so I feel like for all the authority and for all the beings with all the authority is just a challenging element to let go of control, because that's the mind that wants to control everything. That's the mind that doesn't trust. That's the mind that doesn't trust the instinct. To let go of control and start trusting your instinct so much so fully that you can live by it. And that's something, I mean, that requires excuse my French, balls.
Ooh la la. You're excused. I excuse you.
I mean, you've been trained your entire life for so many years to make decisions from here. So
Yep,
that muscle is so strong. And now you've been told, you know what? Actually, this little one muscle over here is the one that's going to show you the correct path to your fulfillment.
yeah,
And you're like, but I don't know. I know how to do this one, and so it's a challenge with I don't know so far any being, not emotional or sacral or splenic or anyone else in that regard, who doesn't have trouble with listening to their authority to some extent.
of course. Yeah, yeah. And it always will be, I guess, because it
Eh,
is, the mind is also a very powerful tool, and you can, I can think, I can have brilliant thoughts sometimes. But yeah, not good for me, but maybe good for other people. Yeah,
but that's why human design is such, there's so much work to be done because
yeah,
there are so many people that live in very strong mind focused country that very rational, especially men, very rational, very pragmatic, and they cannot understand that a tool like this can exist to help you guide into some sort of decision. And I just wanted to say, Marta, it's so nice to hear you because maybe the viewers don't know, but you're taking a course in human design now, and to bring this knowledge like fresh from the oven, and it's kind of like wow, like that's so exciting, it's like we see you grow like a little baby, like you're
Yeah.
a little human design baby,
I think
and,
she's
and it's
already.
so
I think she
nice.
already passed us, though. We're just sitting here being this, trying to be this. Oh, we're so good at human design, and now Marta is here, and actually Marta knows way more. They just, she's just polite. Let us talk, and she's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know this. Yeah, I know this.
She's so nice, she's so nice.
Oh, that's good.
No,
It's
but it's beautiful. We come here together, the three of us, and we have all this different perspectives, right?
Yeah,
The different
true.
cuts of our crystals, and we look
Absolutely.
through different perspectives and have different experience with it. And the human design system is the science of how to be a human being, right?
Yep.
And you so while it's incredible that we have this knowledge and it's very structured and it can give us so much insight into something that we perhaps even unconscious of, but also life comes in here, right? And life experience and your self-reflection and everything you've learned through life. So um that's where I guess the fullness of it comes from. You take this, you apply it to life, and you apply life to it, and it opens up like a lotus flower.
Yep.
And then when you
Beautiful.
think you figured out the lotus flower, life will send you like a challenge, like we're just testing you, and then you'll be like, "Oh, candy." Ah.
Well, what I like to add on what Raoul was just saying is that if you follow your authority correctly, strategy authority correctly, that doesn't mean that you live a happily ever after life. Only what it means is if you enter it correctly, you have that, for example, for the generators, if you respond correctly, you have the energy to do it. So even if it's not a good, even if there's something happening which you don't like or whatever, but if your yes was correctly, you have that energy for that. So because I always a little bit afraid that people think, oh, if I live it now, oh, I didn't live by design and now I know I'm screwed, or oh, I live my design and now I still have these problems. You know what I mean? Life is still challenging. The only thing is when you follow your strategy authority correctly, you have the right amount of energy or whatever your authority is to do it and to follow it through. And that is actually, I think, a good add-on because otherwise people always saying like, it always feels a little bit like, oh, you do it wrong or this is the good way. And then I always like a little bit like, yeah, but life is life and it also happens. And yeah, so I think that is a good, maybe a little small add-on to not think that if you follow your authority, life is always blooms and flowers and
And
perfect
unicorns.
perfect partners, and you know, like that is not really the case though. But
Yeah, there are different ways to understand and interpret that. But the way I see it is if you follow your strategy and authority, that will lead you to the life that's correct for you.
exactly,
Which is correct doesn't mean always happy.
exactly.
It just the life that is designed to open, or how do I say this? Open up the potential of your design.
Yep.
So like my Ferrari analogy, like why would you buy a Ferrari if you are to drive it 30 miles per hour your entire life? It's a waste of money, right? So if you follow your strategy and authority, you get to explore what this body mind is capable of here in this game of life.
Yeah, great.
Just
That
like
is
Rad did.
Mm.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but it's like because he had something with his heart, right? He died something about
Yeah,
his
yeah, he's oh, what do you mean? Like he died from the heart
something, right?
attack?
Or yeah,
Oh,
or
I don't
something.
remember.
I think something with the heart though. But yeah, so very splenic, you know, intuitive, but also very strong-minded, you know, individual, saying if he's, you know, manifesting out there, that thinking mind of him, you know, spread it out in the world, be so bold. You know, he was so bold, like this, you know, like the willpower, strong. But yeah, I hope he took enough rest also because he was a non-sacral being. And if his heart, you know, like even though you have the willpower, maybe it's a good bridge to the willpower authority we go to, because after the spleen we go to the ego center as an authority. If you have that, but the ego is very strong. It's willpower. It's, you know, it's like I always find it fascinating to meet people with the willpower, and I'm always a little bit jealous in a way of people with the willpower. I don't know why, but it feels that they can handle shit so well. It's like I'm always busy to prove myself and have a kind of self-worth, and these people are just having this, I don't know, kind of attitude in a way of like, no, I don't know why you think this is a problem. I'm fine with it, and you know, I'm Juju has this, of course. There's so maybe it's good to go to the ego center, and you have like
Maybe,
two different. Yeah. Are you going to show your design now, Juju? Yeah. There we
well,
go.
you talk about me, so I was like, I'll
Yeah.
show me because I have an
Yeah.
ego and I'm
Yeah.
worth it.
Well. Yeah. Tell us.
Let me tell you about willpower.
I
Tell
thought you were
us.
going to say, let me tell you about myself.
Yeah. My ego.
Yeah, that was the second. Let me tell you about myself.
Yeah. My ego.
So this is me.
Yeah.
This is my willpower. This is the connection to the willpower to the G center, and it's part of like one of the three. I'm a triple split. So this is one of my clusters. And this willpower, the specificity, the uniqueness of this willpower is that the 5125 is about competition. It's about initiation. It's about being invited and inviting people to get initiated. So my willpower is like, yeah, it's me. So when I say I want to do something, I can do something and I do it, then my ego grows, you know? But if I say, yeah, I'll do something and then I don't do it, then I feel like something in me like, what did I say? You know, it's like I feel something not good inside.
Ooh.
So do you have question about my ego? Because I want to talk about my ego.
Well, maybe it's good to first start that off with open neutrino, and then maybe create a willpower connected to the G center, because we were talking about that. And then
Okay, fine, boss.
we start. Thank you, thank you. I'm still have the 45, guys. I'm so sorry. So if
I
you
forgive you.
if you have like the willpower connected to the G center, what you just described, yeah, like this, then you if you have this, for example, in your design, and you don't have a spleen, you don't have a sacral, you don't have emotions, you have the willpower as your authority, as your inner authority. In this way, it is the projected authority, it's called, the heart center ego projected authority, which means you are a projector because there is no motor to the throat, or you don't have a sacral. So you are a projector, which means, and that is very important for this authority always, it is always strategy and authority. And to be a projector, you always need to be recognized and invited. So for you to know when it's the right decision, you still need to be in the right place and to be recognized and invited to have that energy for it, to have that willpower energy for it, to know the authority for you working. So that is a very important thing. If we only talk about, the sacral is such a easy, not a good word, but it's such a clear mechanism. It's just, sacral power, energy. Aha, yes, I have energy for it, and it's already as a generator working for you. But for a projector having this projected authority, it is very important to be recognized and invited to really feel correct for you in the place where you are. If you skip that part and you follow your willpower, then it's not then it could not be correct for you. So maybe Juju, you can explain a little bit how in this case the authority works, and maybe Marta, you had also your class last week about this, so maybe you can. I would love for you to also share about what you have learned about this, if you know still about this, but
Yes, Marta.
Delicious. You are the one with authority. I invite you.
But you are the fresh one out of the oven.
Well, I didn't learn that much about it. All I learned is that ego authority can only be manifestors or projectors.
true.
So there's really only two types of beings that could be ego projected, and that both of these could benefit from the soundboarding technique, which is speaking out loud whatever's on their mind, whatever's on their heart, to somebody else, speaking it out so they can hear themselves speak as they're speaking to get clarity from it for what's correct for them. That's what I learned.
Nice.
And that's great. And for me, this being one of my three clusters, remember I have this one, and this one. Part of my process out of my decision-making strategy is to ask myself when I get to this place, like, is
Yeah,
this good for me?
this is very good what you're now saying. Yeah.
Is this good for me? And I say it all the time, when I meet a girl and I'm like, is she good for me? Part of my decision making.
No, but I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think Marta, you said beautiful things about what you learned. I think in this case, the projected authority maybe works. It's the only one that maybe works a little bit different, because when you have, we go that if you have the ego center connected to the throat, then absolutely you hear what you say. I mean, you have literally your willpower, you're on the tongue, like it's really what your heart is speaking out, like directly. I know a couple of these people and they're so direct. It's like, phew, like I have my old neighbor. She's 84, manifester, emotional manifester, by the way, but she has also this line, and she is brutally honest. It's like what she's speaking out sometimes, like everybody's like, like it's so direct. It's just, and that is with when you are a manifester. So maybe we can talk about both together. So if you have the ego to connect to the throat, you're a manifester with the ego. And you really need to hear yourself speak about, what do I want from it? And that's what you said, Juju, also. And that's also what I'm reading here. If you're the projected ego, and you are correct, invited, recognized, invited, then still for you it's important, and maybe it's a more internal process, but it's very important to ask yourself the question, what do I get out of this? What do I want from this? Because the willpower, it's called the willpower. It's something you want. It's something you have also the energy for, and it's also combined to material world, right? So a lot of people who have this working correctly, yeah, there we go. Money signs are already signs. I mean, I know also some people who have it. They don't have particularly much money, but I know more, like 80% people who have the willpower defined and close it with or the throat or the spleen. And the most of the people, they have money. And I know also Juju, before your accident though, by the way, you were had a you had, I mean, you were working, and you had a, I mean, I know this. He was this, you know.
Bling, 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 bling.
No, but I mean, it changed a lot with you though after the accident. But it's more like if you know, you had the energy for it, the willpower has, you know, the self-worth, but it's still important for them to take your rest. If you take on everything, and promises for these people are so important. It is such a different ball game for 70% in the world who has it open, like you and me, Marta. We are just proving ourselves all the time, saying, you know, like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, you know, but and oh, I promise this to you, but actually we don't have the consistent energy to promise it or to have that willpower energy for it. For Juju, for example, if we have an agreement for something or a contract, for example, and we have this, and you know, and he's with me, and after a week I'm like, nah, I don't know if I'm still in this game. And Juju, that is like, wait, what? I mean, I have this, I made this energy for it. I have the willpower. I have the proof. I can prove this. I can make this promise to you. And now you stop promising. That is tough for people who have it closed. And I think that is an important lesson for them to understand that 70% in the world where you're dealing with are people who are trying to make that promise to you, but they can't do it. So look at me getting married this year. You know, it's like, you know, there are these open people with their open hearts, and oh, I love you so much, and I do love her. But it's like actually very funny that we don't have actually any line in that kind of way, because for us to promise forever is like, I don't know even where to start. But I mean, it's funny. It's just gonna happen because I'm very happy. But still, that is also with in the willpower, the promise. So for these people, it's very important to know what they want and to know what they want to get out of it. And yeah, so that is a good say what you said, Julian, about for yourself. Like, what do I want? What do I get out of it? What, you know, that is an important
Is
question.
this, yeah, is this good for me?
Yeah.
More so than let's say the manifester that really can hear the voice. For me, it's like the reflection, is this good for me? Is this gonna be like, and you know, just by asking this question, if I was excited, I wanted to do something, but then I ask myself and then I sort of drop it and then it just disappears,
Uh-huh.
then it's not good for me.
Yeah, yeah.
But if it's still there, it's like, oh yeah, and this, and oh yeah, and this, oh, it's gonna help you this, and it's gonna, and then if it's still busy with it, then I'm like, okay, this
And
is
I guess
good.
with the G center, right? With the connection ego to the G center, it's really about the direction of the self, right? It has to be fulfilling in some way. It has to make sense for your life. Like
Yeah.
it
For your
has to.
direction and love, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And,
Great. Yeah.
and this is interesting what you say, Marta, because this little bad boy right here is part of the mystical way.
25, huh?
Yeah, the 2551. The mystical way starts in the 19th, you know, hypersensitivity, you're part of the tribe. Oh, we're part of the community, but it's still like you do this for me, I do this for you. We're part of the group, you know. And then the 51 has a shock, hits his head on the kite surfing, and then is like, hold on, but what does this mean? What is meaning of life? What is important for me? What do I need? And what is it that I need is to be more spiritual, to do meditation, to find inner peace. And then the last step is the 1020. It's like expression of the self in the moment, the awakening. So that's the mystical way. And what you just said, Marta, is like, yeah, what is this bringing me? So, anyways, I like to draw.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful drawing, though.
Oh,
No, but
thanks,
great,
thanks.
lovely explanation, though. Yeah, so yeah, we can dive later on into channels and stuff like that. I mean, there's so much beautiful material. But it's interesting when you are a self or like projected authority as a ego, as a projector, it's always that channel, right? There's not other possibility to have it. So it's always about this shock being the first cosmic kind of energy, right? It's like so yeah.
Competitiveness.
Competitiveness. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's like shamanic.
Yeah. And I only have the open heart center with the 51 going out, so I'm always trying to prove that I'm the best, and that I'm gonna be the first,
All
and
the
I'm gonna be
talk that you have
competitive.
with.
Sorry?
You're looking for innocence.
Yeah. Always the same problem. So yeah, so this is the ego center for a projector and for a manifester. So the manifester really needs to speak out his heart, what is on the tongue, like what is laying there, and speaking out, know their truth. Like this is what I want. This is my willpower coming out. And people who have this channel, they know that is very strong. It is very strong. I know a couple of people who have it as my neighbor, but also a very famous musical producer here in Holland who is, also in television, very big, very, very, very big producer, millions, millions, and millions and millions of euros on his bank account. And he is always speaking so directly, always to his employees. And phew, sometimes I'm like, whoo, like strong. I knew exactly yesterday. They are now with a new show. I'm not in it, but there's a new show they're creating with him. And I heard a story about yesterday that he said everybody needs to come now to the office because it's not good and we need to fix it. And he was like, this willpower coming out, and everybody was, yes, sir, yes, yes, I'm coming. All these open heart people, like, oh yeah, I'm proving myself to him. I'm worthy, I'm worthy. It is so fascinating. So yeah, that is the manifestor ego authority there. So then, are we gonna go on with the last ones?
Oh yes,
Sure. Let's
Woo,
do
like
it.
woo, woo, woo,
that just
woo.
came out. But I
Yes.
feel
Uh-huh.
a little bit, I just feel a little bit bad that we didn't sort of conclude the spleen, conclude the ego with sort of a holistic
Conclusion.
wrap-up advice or whatever. I don't know. But
Let's do it at the end. We can like very easy, like spleen, spontaneous, intuitive, small voice saying to you, this is safe for you or not. You should be there or not, and that's what you listen to. So that is a completion there.
okay,
And
all right.
then you have the ego projector who needs to be recognized and invited, and then really feels what Julian says. What do I want from this? What do I get from this? Is this good for me? And then we have the ego manifester. The manifester is initiating. It's going, but it's really the willpower onto the throat. So it's what is speaking out loud, what is coming out of your mouth. That is your truth. That is your worth, your will, and that's what you need to listen to as a authority. So is that already a good little roundup of these three?
You're
Yes.
such a showman. Are you an
Actor.
actor of something? Are you an actor of something?
No, I'm not. I'm not. So yeah,
Great
so
acting.
let's go to the self-projected authority.
Self-projected.
Yes, I mean, I also follow a little bit the book here to the following, but the self-projected is like the G center connected to the throat, like this, for example. And it's only like this. So and you're also a projector. It is not an other way around, even though your throat is defined, but it's not a motor who is connected to it. It's the G center, and maybe we can now elaborate a little bit on the G center. Marta, we all have a G center, by the way. That is interesting. We all three have a G center, so we have a knowing of who we are.
Here.
Knowing of who we
We
are.
do.
Yeah, well,
We
we
do
talked about
know.
a little bit in a couple of minutes ago. We talked about direction and love. And there are 8 gates coming out of the G center, and there are 4 who are about love, and there are 4 who are about direction. And it's very logic because it's the center of your being. It's your inner guide, your GPS, it's the crystal coming there, closing it together as what we talked about in.
Monopole.
Sorry?
Yeah. Magnetic monopole.
The magnetic monopole, keeping everything together. So it's a
Yeah.
very, very important place of, and it's very logical from that space. It is love and direction, which the human is guiding. And I think you can talk about love very spiritual, but it's also very logic. I mean, we're all loving beings, and you know, you have the love of yourself, you have the love for the other being, you have the love for the cosmos, the love for the body. That are the four gates of the love. And then you have all the directions, the direction of the self, the direction of the other, and all the other kind of way of direction is working. And so that is the G center, and the G center is connected to the throat. So the only thing you are, as if you have this as your authority, it is well, hearing yourself talk again, right? It's like only it is with the heart center. I would say it's more blunt and it's more direct. It isn't motor. It's energy behind it. So that's why the manifester with the ego to the throat, it feels like I don't know. It always feels like boom, like energy going into
Kick
the.
in the gut.
Sorry?
Like a kick in the gut.
Like, yes, like, and I think this is more subtle in a way, more loving and direction, and it doesn't have like power behind it. So it's still important as a projector. It is important to be recognized and invited, and then, hear yourself talk in this environment about your direction of love or how your channel is connected to this, because can have four channels, and that is the way it works. And I have my father is this, so it is very rare authority. And what I always find out, and I know one or two other, well, two, but one other person also, is that as a projector, it is important to be recognized and invited to speak or to, do something. But what I noticed with these people is that they have the tendency to to talk fast and to want to spread like their direction coming out of there. And they always do a little bit like, oh, sorry, yeah, no, no, sorry that I talk, but yeah, yeah. They always have this kind of funny. It's also a little bit clumsy. I don't know if it's clumsy, but a little bit, it's a funny energy. So people who have this maybe relate to this, or totally not at all. But that's the people who I know about this. And you, Marta, you also have your G center connected to your throat as a 1/8 channel.
Yes, inspiration.
Inspiration, be inspirable, be the role model, be you, being you,
Inspire
uh,
people by being myself.
being yourself. Creative, though, also creative. Huh? It's a creative role model, so it's being creative.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you have that channel, for example, then that is the expression who you are. And if you are invited and recognized, you will express yourself, and that what's coming out of you will be true and will be, yeah, the way it works, I guess. Maybe Juju, you also have something to elaborate on this authority.
Um, I mean, you quite comprehensively had a nice description, and I was getting lost in Marta's 1/8 of inspiration.
Nice.
And those channels, they're very much, I mean, especially those three channels, leadership channels and
Mhm.
teams, like you get pulled if you have one of these or activation, you get pulled in leadership roles.
Yep.
Um, and it's really talking, I mean, they really talk, and it's funny when you were saying they say, "Oh, I'm sorry." It's basically because they're absorbing and amplifying all these centers that are in people's around them, mental, physical, and this is a lot of energy. Imagine like somebody who has just these two no energy centers,
Yep.
and then somebody like, I don't know, like Willie comes in with his like sacral here, and then this drive and stamina, and then this willpower. Oh no, you don't have the willpower,
I don't
right?
have the willpower, no.
So even
Unfortunately.
even that, like it's like, and you can feel like something coming inside, like inside you, Willie is like, oh, and then the other person is like,
Yep.
like, absorb and amplify even more than you. So of course they say I'm sorry because they just cannot control this powerful energy that
Yep.
Will or Marta or somebody else comes in and throws on them without care.
And that's
So we should
conditioning, huh? So we talk now
we,
also about the.
Yeah, and we should be compassionate about the conditioning that we do.
Absolutely. No, but it's true. No, Juju, it's very true. And I think it's for people who have this authority, which is pretty rare, for them to know that they're amplifying a lot about around and all the energies and all the motors and for them to speak when they are recognized and invited is actually very important because if they truly are recognized and invited and then they speak, the truth what can come out there could be so brilliant. I mean, that is like, it's so important that they hear themselves speak in that moment because that is their truth. Yeah, and yeah, so that is interesting. Unfortunately, I think it's a couple of years ago, I got a connection with a girl, and we just became friends. And she had this also, and she got cancer, unfortunately, and she died. She was 29, very young, and she came also in this material, and she was always searching for that, for her speaking her truth, and that was, that balance of being, and I don't say the cancer has anything to do with not properly working, but it's more like I saw her fighting about her truth and what she was speaking about, and she was speaking also a lot, and like, and I always had a thought of this, like how this young girl, and what she, like what she just pushed, all the energy through her, and she but wanted to live so badly, like, it was such a sad story. And it's just like, and I always found it fascinating because she was so open and, probably so conditioned. And yeah, so it's very important for you if you have this authority to really, even though you feel all the energies around you, to really feel recognized and invited to speak out, because there is your truth, and that is very important for you.
And the environment is important,
Yeah,
meaning you have to feel that it's the right environment so that you can get properly invited, recognized, and then just speak your truth. I'm really looking forward to season two when we invite somebody with that, authority, because I think it can be so eye-opening for all the people like this.
absolutely,
See,
absolutely.
see how I did a teaser for season two?
Yeah, you did. Thank you, thank you.
Marketing channel on.
Probably, probably. So yeah, so
Uh,
that is the self-projected authority, which and we talk about, I think, 1% and stuff like that. And these are very rare authorities. So, and I think we then come to, actually, we have two left, but one we already discussed as the reflector being fully open and to wait the lunar cycle as the authority. So if people watching that, we have an episode about it, about the reflectors, and that is talking about that authority, like waiting for a lunar cycle, 28 days. Oh my God. I still cannot comprehend you have a lunar cycle authority, but still. But then you have like the last one. It's the in the raw book. It's called the mental projectors, which means you don't have anything below the throat. So you have or your head center connected to your ashna and your ashna to the throat.
and
Or
just before we go in there, like I was having lunch with a reflector, and he watched the video, and he was really grateful for what the Marta said and everything. So it's really we're making an impact. So it's like
Marta is because he's the manifestor here, right? The manifesting generator. Make
go team.
impact. May impact. No, very nice. Yeah, it's very lovely. I hope people will get out of it. And I also like that we just talk also about personal things and our personal experiences, and that life also is not, easy at points. But yeah, we're now talking about the last one, the mental projectors. So you also are a projector here, and you can have it like this, Juju. So you can have the head closed with the ashna and ashna to the throat, but you can also have the head open. So you can only have like the ashna close to the throat, but you can also have the head and the ashna only closed, which is also a mental projector, like this, for example. Or you can have it like this, for example. Yes, so you have the green, and this is all mental projector, which means that's in some way the ashna is always closed. And well, lucky you to always have this great mind and great thinking mind. But we talked about it already in this episode about thinking and about the mental plane. So you can imagine that these people, the projectors, are very strong in thinking, as my mother is, for example. She's a mental projector.
Yeah.
And she is very strong-minded, very strong way of thinking, and trusts that thinking mind as her authority, which you would say like, yeah, that's correct, but that is not actually the truth correct way because you're following your thinking mind inside yourself. So for these people, environment is very, very essential. And what I mean by that, the environment, like where you are, in which space, but also the people around you. If you are a mental projector, get around to people you really trust, your really good friends, your parents, for example, or people you really, really, really trust. Be around them and then have conversations about things you're busy with, or and then hear yourself talk. And here it's also sometimes called soundboarding, and like let the vibration go between the good environment, the good people around you. And very important detail, it is not about what people are saying to you. So it's not that your friend is saying you should do this or your mother is saying you should do that. That is not your answer. The answer lies in the talking, expressing your mental out, and in that vibration of that moment you feel that what is correct for you. You hear yourself say things and you hear other people say things, and in that process you get clarity. I have my sister-in-law is a mental projector too, which is funny because I always say that my brother is married to my mother in a way because they're both mental projectors. But yeah, I think it's funny though. And she, for example, she loves photography. She's having a jewelry brand, but she loves photography. I love photography, and when we talk about on the chat or on the app, and we talk about lenses or camera gear, or she already knows what she really wants actually, so it's already in her mind. But if she can, like vibe with somebody she trusts on this subject, and we talk about it, and she finds clarity in that talking, and like, yeah, I should buy this lens. And it's not that I say you should buy that lens. She figure it out in the person she trusts in this thing, and then she was like, yeah, I want to buy that lens. That is the way the mental projecting is working actually. And what I see a lot with mental projectors, they are very closed and they don't speak that much. They do everything in their self because they already know in the head what they want or what they think. And that is the hard part for the mental projectors, to really get out the thinking towards your environment. Otherwise, you make only decisions in yourself, by yourself, with the mind, and then you don't know if it's the right decision for you. So yeah, that is being a mental projector. Can you feel, Marta, how it is to be a mental projector? Can you have like an idea about it?
No, yeah, because I just had a class, remember?
Oh
And
yeah,
we have
yeah.
a projector in class.
Ah, nice. Yeah.
Was sharing how he was just making a decision, and he said, I must have spoken to 10 or 15 people to be able to come to this clarity that this is what's right for me.
Yep.
So they have to and it has to be people that are correct for them, that feel
Yeah.
good. He says, like, when I walk into the room, like I can immediately feel like, this doesn't feel good. So and then the teacher said, well, if it doesn't feel good, switch the room, switch the place, change something,
Yeah.
change something.
Yeah.
Find a space or the person that feels good, that feels comfortable, that feels right, and then talk to them or express it. Use the soundboarding technique to
Yeah.
find your clarity, and do it with several people until you have your clarity.
Interesting, huh?
Happening.
But I think it's very interesting for them to know that they have a strong mind. It's not that I'm saying they don't shouldn't use the mind, but it's more like don't go in yourself always all the time and make decisions from there. Really trust people around you and soundboard out what you're thinking, because that is more clarity than what you are doing up there. And yeah, I think it's a fascinating authority. But also what you're saying about the environment, right? Because they also have an open G center, which is no consistent direction of love, no direction, no GPS in the right way. Like the magnetic monopole can, especially sitting in the right room, in the right place. So if you're not sitting on the correct table, I always say it with people who have an open G center, if you go out or you go with a dinner with your friends, go sit on where you feel that what feels correct for you. Otherwise, the whole night is ruined. You don't really listen. It's not really what you're talking is not really truthful. So because you're not on the right place. So for mental projectors, it's also very important to be in the right place for to hear also the right words and stuff. So yeah, wow. I
And
think we got the authorities. Oh my God.
yeah. No, I just thought like what you just said, what you just finished with, it kind of like goes back to the variables, putting yourself in the right environment and creating the right conditions for your design to thrive, right?
Yeah, that is absolutely true for the body. I think it's Ra was saying that is from the Saturn return. So when you become 29, 30 years old, from there on, it is really important to be in the right environment. That is always what I remember what he was saying about like living in, if you are ashore, for example, go live by the shore. Or, I moved out with my girlfriend here and now I'm living too high up. So Lisa has a mountain and she can like, I can, you know, live higher. And I have a living kitchen. I'm a kitchen here, like the kitchen is here in the or area. I'm just, making space and being in this kitchen place. So yeah, we're in a good place now, both of us. And that is also very important as environment. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking about, I can't remember, I think it has to do with some of the nodes, position of the nodes.
Hmm.
And it has to do with being either observer or observed.
Yep.
So, for one, the correct environment would be to have your time in solitude and being more of a like how do you say this? What's the word? Independent observer
Yeah.
of the from the distance. And for me, for instance, it's correct. Throw myself into the middle of it,
Yep.
being in a dynamic environment and being exposed, being the observed,
Yep.
which for I don't know if it has to do with me being the pure individual of the human design system. I've realized how much do I actually need my solo time as well. And sometimes, maybe due to some conditioning or whatever, probably due to some conditioning, I could get stuck in those hermit modes for a long while.
Mm.
And this is not the right environment for me. And that I will be like, I will feel the stagnation if I
Yeah.
get stuck in there for. And then when I throw myself out there, and especially if it feels correct and it feels good, just thriving and things are working.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. All right.
Mm.
Wow.
So, shall we conclude? We just closed the whole topic of the inner authority, which is the
Full
decision making.
circle.
Is in full circle. We've come full circle. Is what are the key points, you guys? Who wants to go over the key points of the inner authority topic?
Well, I can start off because Juju is always more magical than me after me. So it's like you can be so magical. So yeah, I'm gonna make it very easy. So we talked about before on the strategy, so the aura types, how your aura is working, and what the strategy of your aura is, and then we came in this conclusion in the roundup with the authority, and inner authority is just your decision making process, and for me it is. To find out what your authority is, because we all have a different authority, and if you find out to really come back to that body which is giving you so much shines, or the sacral response, being emotional is no truth in the now, taking your time, or all the other rare authorities you have, and really get experiment with it, because we don't know how it is to be you. We just try to explain stuff we aren't ourselves. But still, even if you listen and you recognize, go on into life and try to experiment with it, find your own truth with it. If it doesn't work for you in that way, try to find other ways to work with it. And I think that is important. There's no truth in human design in that way. It's an experiment, and Go find it out. And I would guarantee you, which everybody I knows, if you really go into it, you will gradually, because you cannot be from that place to there. You cannot understand it immediately in one day, even though you have a kind of resonance with it. You need to practice, practice, practice. I mean, Juju and I are busy with this material for over 7 years of experiment with every day, and still we are learning every day. So it is a process of trusting and experiment with it. So I would say that is what we did with Strategy Authority, and go have fun with it also and experiment with it. That's what I want to say about it.
My God, did you even leave me some magic?
Yes, that's coming now.
No,
Juju?
but you were so good and you're like,
No, you're now
oh my
going to
God,
give us magic.
hold on. The competitiveness in me is like,
Good. Give me
God
your.
damn, open willpower amplifying me and getting all the juice out. Uh, just, like, well, let me try to find Jesus. Um,
Find Jesus.
Let me try to find
wow,
Jesus.
Jesus, where are you? No, I think to add to this elaborate magical words of Willie, uh, just do what feels right. Like you don't need to force yourself. Whatever clarity is for you is the one that's there's no internal or external pressure. And it's kind of like, oh, so, and then in that space, you'll find that your authority is there. So that's my
Aho.
aho. Oh
So,
my God.
Marta, you
I'm
can
just gonna steal something my teacher said in the class.
do it.
And I guess this is to wrap up all the authorities because I feel like it's an important message to deliver in the era and the time where everyone's so busy with personal development and we feel this pressure to be better and to blah 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 and whatever, you know. She said, you know what? It's true that the mind is never the authority. And it's also true that if you choose to live from your mind, if you choose the seven centered beingness, it's fine. It's fine. If it works for you, relax, enjoy. There's no need to create problems. But if you feel this desire for expansion and exploration and of what your life could be, then take this knowledge and work on embodying it because the words are nothing until you apply them to your life. So if you feel that pull or call toward expansion and more purpose, more, something more, then use these beautiful, wonderful tools and watch your life flourish. Try what it's like, what it means to be a nine-centered being.
Aho.
Aho!
Aho, well said. Wow.
Whoop, whoop.
I stole it from my teacher, but it's okay.
No, you make it
I
you made it
personalize.
yourself.
I
You know,
personalize.
everybody says like, wow, the woman in the team in your podcast, she speaks so good. Is she a public speaker or something? Like a Toastmaster? Like a fellow Toastmaster told me, wow, she speaks without a losing a beat.
I've
True.
trained. Thank you. Thank you, beautiful strangers, for your beautiful feedback. Anyway, wrapping up. Thank you so much, guys. This was lovely again. I don't know how we did, so whoever's watching this, please let us know if you have questions, if you've resonated, if you didn't resonate, please let us know in the comment section. We always love to hear your feedback. we always love to interact with you to know what you have to say, whether it was helpful or not, or what we can do to maybe improve our podcast experience so you could draw even more value from it. So please let us know and stay tuned, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your family. And we'll see you next week for the next episode on, you'll know, you'll find out. It's going to be a surprise, but always fun. Bye.
Ciao.
See